Welcome back to our show, Around the Block with GoodBlock. I'm your host for today, Leah. I'm with Nathaniel and our guest, Mochi. Today we get to talk to this Telos NFT legend about what it takes to grow decentralized communities. I also hope to learn a little bit about AI. Mochi is from the UK and has a background in e-commerce and digital marketing. They were first introduced to Telos as a winner of the Mission NFT hackathon. Then they were offered a part-time job, is that correct, advising the NFT team at the TF, and now generally work for the marketing community for the Telos community. So that's exciting. Hi, Mochi. Welcome.
Hey, guys. Lovely to be on. Lovely to hear from you both, and looking forward to chatting today.
Got it. So before we get started, I want to remind the audience to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you get notified when we put out all our new content. Help us help you. So, Mochi, could you just start by telling us about yourself and your journey into Web3? I'm sure people have noticed that you don't have your camera on. Could you talk to us about that as well?
Yes. So in terms of my journey into Web3, I started like many people around 2017, 2018 era as Bitcoin was sort of starting to get into the news. I think people were starting to get a little bit excited about what was happening, the idea that you could actually have some sort of decentralized currency. And I think a lot of people around that time were just interested to see how things would unfold. Maybe weren't serious, maybe weren't full time or super passionate about the industry, but they were interested to see what was happening and where it could end up. And then from there, I kind of tailed off, lost a bit of interest, kept coming back, kept still hearing about Bitcoin, altcoins, layer ones, new blockchains, etc., and eventually, just found myself spending, as I'm sure we all did, spending more and more time sort of, I don't want to say obsessing, but spending a lot of time just thinking about this technology and the opportunity that it provided in terms of work, in terms of the opportunity to earn money, in terms of the opportunity to almost create money, to create community, to create decentralized organizations, all these ideas that just seem to be so fresh and new. It just slowly started to consume my free time to the point where I was just becoming more and more, I don't want to say obsessed again, but it seems to be the word, just obsessed with this idea and what it could become, really. It just unfolded quite naturally, I think, as the wave sort of came and took over me and a lot of people. I think, I'm sure you guys were around the same time, if not before. I think we all just got bitten by that bug.
I got bit by the bug too, but mine was a bit later than most people. So I actually came in 2022. So yeah, I'm a late person to Telos.
Yes, yeah.
So I love getting to hear the stories of the people who were here at the beginning.
Yes, well, I think the COVID time, lockdown, people having more free time, people spending more time online. I think that was a big catalyst for a lot of people I knew that had zero interest suddenly. They were buying altcoins, they were buying Dogecoin, they were buying whatever they could get their hands on, hoping to make 100x or whatever else, just speculative buyers. But some that have unfortunately kind of left as the hype died down, but also I think probably quite a lot of people from that wave have hopefully stayed on as well and started to either carve out opportunities, start up businesses, start up projects, or just generally be productive and beneficial for the space. So whether you got involved in 2017 or 2022, as long as you're providing value and being honest and decent, not scamming, not rugging or whatever else. I don't think it matters when you got in, as long as you're passionate about the subject matter. I think you're never too late. I'd say you're never too late. We're super early.
I completely agree. And how, with the recent events, how has that affected some of the people that you've come in with? Have they kind of dropped out or lost a little of their passion as we go through this?
Yeah, very good point, Leah. I think, unfortunately, it's a combination of trust, faith. A lot of people are still, they either were stung or they're underwater because they bought Dogecoin at 70 cents, thinking it was going to $700. It's just I think, unfortunately, with the volatility of the industry, everybody at some point will find themselves, I think, in some way or another, down on something or other, whether it's an altcoin, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's Ethereum, whatever it is. Unfortunately, it's part of the volatility of the industry. You just got to kind of ride the wave and then hope, as the technology develops, that eventually you get your head back above water. And most of the time, I think, in my personal experience, as long as you stick it out, as long as you're here for the long term and not a quick buck, generally you will reap the benefits. But unfortunately, some people they either don't have that interest or they don't have the patience, and they get out. I know friends that, like I said, specifically Dogecoin. I remember the hype of it going to 70 cents, people buying it at 70 cents. I was screaming at them, please don't waste your money. And now they're deep underwater. They either sold at a massive loss, or they've lost interest because they lost their investments. But like I said, I think if you're committed to the tech and you're willing to wait it out, you should. At the stage of the technology we're at, even now, I think you should be okay, as long as you invest in things that have a future. Even Dogecoin, despite its meme base, it probably does have some sort of future just because of how viral it went. So, I'm sure some people that are underwater now will eventually be back in the green. But of course, if you're involved in the mammoth beast that is Telos, then you'll be absolutely fine no matter where you got in. Eventually, you'll be back in the green before long.
Absolutely. Well, as a marketing, can you just speak to us a little bit, because especially during this time, communities, marketing, etc., are probably more important than ever, because a lot of projects I've seen have lost steam or community. I think that's natural to lose some, but it's kind of like this is your time to shine, so to speak.
Well, yes, I would preface by saying I'm not a marketer in terms of I'm not hired by the TF on the marketing team. I'm just offering some advice to the stellar team that they have recently implemented. Actually, I must give a massive shout out to Peter and Clay, who have been doing a fantastic job of just keeping the momentum going during a difficult time. And I think that's the key. Now, if we get a partnership, you can guarantee there's a Discord AMA, there's a Twitter AMA, and there should be some sort of joint promotion. And it's at the core of keeping your community in the know, and making sure they're aware of everything that's happening, and just shouting about your achievements. I feel like sometimes we didn't do that enough before, but now I feel that in the last 2 to 3 months, we've seen a real shift. If you follow the socials of Telos, of the Hello Telos, the Telos Network accounts, generally there's 2 or 3 good announcements a day, if not, 7 to 10 a week, I'd say we get in terms of partnership. The BD team is working its socks off. From my understanding, I've seen chats, I've seen how they work. I've been in outreach meetings, just listening and learning, and they are really working hard to show the community that there is a real future for Telos, and that's what we need to communicate in terms of community, in terms of marketing. Just keep reminding people that we're here for the long run. We're here building with our top builders. You look at Swapsicle, you look at Wagyu Swap, who we've just partnered with as well. The idea is, and I think it's fair to say, if you do your due diligence in these projects, they're here for the long term too. So hopefully it's a case of you scratch our back, we scratch yours, and we grow together. And look, community is a very interesting thing during the dark times of the market, because people are rightly frustrated, and it's a very tricky balance. People are down on their investment now. That's unfortunately just the name of the game. As we spoke before, if you bought Telos at $1.50, I'm sorry, that's the way the market works. It doesn't mean you made a bad investment. It just means your timing was off. But I do understand when it's money, it's personal, and people do get frustrated. And I think empathizing with that is something that's important, but it's also keeping your eye on the ball and knowing that you can't fix everybody's investment. If someone invests at $1.50, of course we'd love to be back at $1.50. I'm a real pragmatist and realist on this, and people may agree and disagree, and that's fine. I'm completely fine with any other opinion on price or whatever else. But we see Telos goes up with Bitcoin, as does everything else. That's the market we're in. So hopefully, as Bitcoin, I think this rally is unfortunately going to be short-lived on a wider macroeconomic scale when you look at the things that are going on. But eventually Bitcoin will be back at 100K or will be at 100K, and you can bet your bottom dollar Telos will be flying by then. We'll have built a massively successful foundation, and the people that bought in at 150 will be very, very early. So that's the plan.
There's so much to unpack there. And like, first, your comments on the Telos community, which are bringing to light all of the NFTs. I really appreciate that, because I like to browse NFTs, and you post those all the time. So thank you for that. And yes, the marketing team has done a very great job really putting out community stuff. I don't feel like I have to do a lot of hunting to find stuff on Telos. It's presented to me in the community channels, in Telegram, in Twitter. Very cool. So thank you for both of those things. I also saw that you're one of the top commenters in the Telos community, according to the top supergroup bot.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think every week for the last 4 or 5 months. I'm not exaggerating. Whether I have too much free time on my hands, I hope not, because I run a business. So hopefully not. But I think it just shows ultimately the passion that is there for helping the community sort of work its way through. And
it's
Telegram,
obvious.
Discord community. There is different levels of quality in terms of active participants, as we mentioned before. Some people are literally just here to dump their bags as soon as they get $1.51 Telos, because they're purely investors, and that's fine. That's it's part of the game, unfortunately.
Yeah. Not everyone's like that, though.
Not everybody, yeah, exactly. Not everybody's a believer, and you just have to do your best to strike that balance. I think in crypto communities of being aware of what you are and being aware of your user base. Or I don't want to say user base, but unfortunately, you have to use old Web 2 terms just to make things easy to understand, I think, for everybody listening. And you just have to strike that balance between the ideal and dealing with the realities and the restrictions that we have. Rightly or wrongly, that's the name of the game, in my opinion.
Agreed.
But again, I'm perfectly open to other opinions on that as well. I know the community has tons of different opinions on what we shouldn't be doing, and many of them are valid. Many of them are absolutely valid. We just have to do our best job to balance it between everybody.
Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of situation.
Unfortunately, that's it. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Crypto is not a one-size-fits-all. And that's part of the, when you're looking at the wider debate around decentralization, about keeping power away from centralized entities, that is a wider debate that needs to be had. How do you please everybody? And how do you make sure that everybody is being serviced, per se? Everybody's having their needs met. It's a very tough thing, but I hope eventually, as the technology evolves, as the space matures, I think we'll get there. I have faith, but I'm not sure we're there yet.
Well, I mean, we're getting to a place where governments are forced to react to what we're doing now. So a lot of places making digital centralized cryptocurrencies for their governments now. Even the U.S. is deciding to do that. I know you're from the U.K. and they're not planning on doing one lately, but like, we're forcing governments to have to react to our blockchain technology.
Yes, and that's another monkey wrench. Another spanner in the works is governments and regulation, and how you
huge.
I think that the TF, and I think in particular, from what I've heard, Douglas, George, I think they are very aligned on keeping things as safe and by the book as possible to keep the investors safe.
Sure.
And I think so far, as I'm aware, that's continuing, and that is at the center of Telos. And I think it has to be. It absolutely has to be at the center and driving every move we make on a macro scale, because governments are unfortunately looking for excuses to shut down and centralize absolutely everything they can. Like you mentioned, CBDCs or CBDCs, I always forget. We just have to do our best to stay on the right side of the law, and hope if all the boxes are ticked, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, that we keep things safe and we abide by the regulations and don't get too stung. But you never know. You never know how governments will react. And it's something you only have so much control over, sadly.
Kind of keeping in the vein that we were talking about before, your Telos community updates regarding NFTs. How do you generate those? How are you so on top of on the ball with them? Is it just part of it? Like, do you have a system that's set up for it?
Yes, I mean, I think Gooey and Shelley have transitioned into that role because I think they're. I don't want to speak for them. I don't know their positions at the TF. I think Gooey is the full time NFT creator. I'm not. I think Shelley is the co-lead. They have sort of taken that over recently. Peter has found a new part time role per se. For me, I wouldn't say a role. It's more of a helping him and Clay with some bits behind the scenes in terms of Crew Free, which I'm quite eager to talk about our new Crew Free initiative, which I think has so far yielded some success. There's definitely a lot of improvement to be made. But on the NFT side, I think the best way to keep updated is to just keep scouring the marketplaces. Now, we're taking a different approach, and Telos NFTs, and I can say this as someone who used to advise the NFT team, we're in a very tricky situation where we have, in terms of, this is almost a microcosm of Telos. We have the most amazing tech. If you want to mint an NFT, mint it on Telos. It'll be minted in seconds, and it'll cost you next to nothing. Right. You can't ask for much more in a minting experience. Even Telos Scan has recently updated is in the process of having its interface updated to display your NFTs, your EVM NFTs in one handy place in your wallet. So in Teloscan, sorry. So, we're a great environment. But it's carving out that niche. And I think what we found recently is we pivoted, and I hope I played some part in this when I was helping advise the NFT team. We pivoted to a more bespoke approach. So you may have seen our recent release with Sarisa Kojima, the Thai Japanese artist. She sold an open edition. I think she did 100. It's one piece of art, but it's an open edition, so it's just 100 limited pieces. And I think she sold out in about 12 hours. She did 100 pieces at 100 Telos. And where we found success is actually, targeting these artists that are looking for a home. So Gooey spent time basically, wooing her and bringing her over and saying, we will provide you with the support. I think he provided the minting page, he provided the minting DApp. There was a small grant involved. And it helps bring some life to the NFT scene on Telos. And I think that's where we can carve out a position for ourselves. And I think actually that's something across the board is our strength. We are a community-governed chain. We don't have a massive offices with hundreds of employees where you email and your request gets caught up in 50,000 inboxes. If you're an artist and you want to mint on Telos, you DM Gooey and he will reach out to you, and hopefully you'll get the process going together. I think we need to align on that and across the board, and I hope all departments. I think all departments are taking that approach, whether it's GameFi, DeFi, NFTs, and a bespoke, almost customer experience is not the right word, but you know what I mean. A bespoke onboarding. That's the right word. Onboarding. I feel like it. Yes, that's what we need to provide. I hope that the people on the TF are starting to pivot to that direction, because I think that's where our USP, our real uniqueness lies compared to these other chains. Solana, AVAX offer similar technologies, but they don't offer a great onboarding experience because of the noise, because of the chaos on those shores that comes with the massive volumes that they've obviously had in bull runs and whatever else. So, the problems that we experience on a day-to-day basis, you can bet your bottom dollar that chains like AVAX, I'm not sure how decentralized they are in terms of foundations and such, but you can bet your bottom dollar they're experiencing those problems on a massive scale in comparison. So, yeah, in terms of NFTs, like I said, I hope we can take a more bespoke approach. We can attract artists with a one-to-one experience and hope that we can slowly start to show artists that Telos is a great place to come and learn the technology and mint your art. And hopefully you have a hungry community like with Sarisa's Mint where you can sell out pretty quick. That's the plan.
Yeah. So you mentioned Crew 3. Do you mind expanding on that? What is Crew 3?
Yes, of course. So Crew Free is effectively it's a Web3 community building platform, but it does have its roots in Web 2 in terms of it doesn't have a huge amount of on-chain functionality. I think it's being worked on, or a huge amount of wallet integration. But the idea is, I think it was born from the need to sort of stimulate Web3 crypto communities, similar to Telos, similar to Solana, similar to AVAX. They're all present there. It's a case of incentivizing and gamifying actions on chain and then manually, unfortunately, in a very Web 2 way. For now, the only solution is to manually verify these actions, where users will, for example, make a swap on an exchange and they'll submit the transaction hash. You'll search the transaction ID. You'll search it. and you'll be able to verify, and they can basically earn XP for on-chain action. So, it's gone off to a very quick start, in as much as we had probably about 300 participants from within the community and from outside the community. Unfortunately, that petered down to about 150 in the first few weeks. I think because of the way we set it up, it wasn't optimal. We were very much learning the platform as we went. Certain little things we made mistakes with, which we've rectified ahead of next month's initiative, where we'll be able to keep much higher user retention. But effectively, it gamifies the experience to where every time you complete an on-chain action that we request, so it may be mint an NFT, it may be deposit liquidity to a liquidity pool, it may be use a certain DEX, make a certain swap, you earn XP on the platform, and then at the end of the month you have the chance, depending on how many actions you completed on the Telos EVM or the Telos native chain, you have a chance to win a share of $1,000. Now it's quite a small amount. The prizes range from sort of $10 for the lower entries to $200. I think is the top prize, which is, in terms of return on the cost, it's quite good, because you're looking at, for certain dApps and incentivized actions, you're looking at 100 actions, which is nice to see that people are using your dApps on chain. And the idea is that you incentivize the first swap, and hopefully these people come back, and for the rest of the year they'll continue to use RocketX or Wagyu swap or Ape swap or whatever we've incentivized at the time. But in particular, I think Sarisa Kojima, one of our NFT artists from the Open Edition, I think we managed to funnel through about 30 to 40 mints, which was quite impressive, out of the 100 supply through Crew Free, by incentivizing people to earn a little bit of XP. Maybe that if they win, they'll have a chance to recoup those funds that they spent on the mint. So it's a gamified community building platform that was introduced by Peter and Clay when they came on, and I've been helping just on the advising side and the verification side and some of the admin side on the back end on that to help keep it running smoothly and like I said, hopefully optimize it ahead of the next season next month, which will be, I hope, considerably better and considerably more active. And the idea is, over the course of the year, hopefully you've had thousands and thousands of on-chain actions that you've incentivized, and hopefully if you can retain 10% of those users regularly using the chain, then you've more than made back your initial outlay. So that's where we are at the moment with Crew Free. We're at the very early stages, but we're looking to blow that up.
That's really cool. No, it definitely seems like, seemingly from the outside in, kind of out of nowhere, a little spark, a little energy has come back to the NFT community at large, on Twitter even. And I'm starting to see people speak about NFTs again.
Yes, I agree.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100%. When you talk about speculation, and we talk about the start of altcoins, unfortunately NFTs are right there at the bottom. Right. They are the highest risk assets you can even get within crypto, apart from your real rug pull, rubbish coins. NFTs are up there in terms of risk on assets, because it's just such a volatile business. But I'm sure they'll bounce back in time. Unfortunately, the market, I just think they've taken a hit, like everything. But I'm sure, and hopefully, on a wider point, hopefully we find a little bit more utility down the line for these NFTs, a little bit more use case. I love my art NFTs. I love to collect art from artists that I like to support, but it would also be cool if I could use them for a little bit more, whether it be redeeming a poster or redeeming some sort of membership or a verification of support, something like that. I'm sure as we go, creators will find more creative ways, and builders will find more creative ways to empower creators to add a little bit more utility to their on-chain art as well.
Well, I think part of this spark of energy has to do with AI. We've seen the advances of AI. Where do you stand on generative AI? And is it going to play a part in any of your future projects personally, or people that you know?
I'm super glad you answered this question, because unfortunately for you guys, I could talk about this for the next 4 hours. It's a super interesting topic to me to see where AI is going to end up, where the art, particularly the art generation, is going to end up, and the level of detail, the level of performance. Are we going to get to a point where an AI piece is completely indistinguishable? It can provide work in progress shots, it can provide a video of the AI effectively drawing the piece or creating the piece. Yeah, it's interesting and almost worrying times if you're an independent artist out there. I think artists are going to have to pivot to either using AI to help them or really work on their branding to the point where they can create a connection with their audience that you just can't do with an AI generated piece. And I think artists are going to have to really, over the next few years, really focus on identity, connection, and a sense of uniqueness that just no matter what I put into Midjourney version 10, I will struggle to recreate and really get that connection with your buyers or your supporters that only your art piece can generate. But it's going to be interesting times for artists, and I'm a big supporter of artists, and I hope they'll come out of this okay. I'm sure they will, but it may be a case of them having to work a little bit harder on the marketing side, the branding side, and really just working at their craft to kind of outwork this crazy technology, which is advancing at an insane rate of knots.
Oh my gosh, the Discord bot. I don't know if you've seen that. The one that generates the new, it's new, generates art. Man, I wish I remembered its name off the top of my head.
Midjourney, I think is the one you're talking about.
Midjourney, absolutely. Yeah. We had it generating art for our projects and stuff, and it was throwing back great stuff.
I heard they solved fingers.
Yes, they did. The newest release allegedly solved fingers. So, it's learning or they're teaching the AI at a rapid rate. I mean, it's hard to know where we're going to end up there. But I hope it's just a case of the best. Artists will just have to improve their craft and become better and better. I hope it leads to innovation in the field. But it's precarious times. I think it's precarious times for a lot of industries, not just artists. To be fair. Midjourney is one that's very much in the focus at the moment. Obviously, ChatGPT 4 as well is having implications and
data user.
Yeah, so it's interesting times. It's very interesting times.
Humans will never, I feel, run out of things to do. No matter how we progress. There used to be chimney sweepers, and then everyone was like, I feel like there's a pain, there's a struggle in creation, even in human life. And so, of course, this is going to cause some pain. It's going to cause some joy. It's a part of this world, even as a technology. So it's not immune to being disruptive, just as everything has always been for all time. But it is exciting. I mean, I must admit, I'm not in the art community, but I am on Twitter a lot, and it's exciting to see people get excited about art. I feel like that wasn't necessarily something that was as generally spoken about even a decade ago for someone like me. Like, I could have gone my whole life without knowing about it, and now it's like, whoa, this is actually a really cool world. This is actually fun. This is inspiring. So that's the positive of it to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think I am almost hesitant to make judgments because I just think it's such an unknown of where we end up.
Totally.
But I agree. There is always will be value in, even as a good example, someone was telling me the other day, I think it was my dad actually, who has no idea about, he's not interested at all, but he was saying, look at artisan food, artisan craft. Of course, you can get a cheaper product, almost the same, produced in seconds or mass manufactured. But there'll always be an appeal for some people in artisanal work. And the worst case scenario is we could end up in a place where artists are it's just even more of a niche field, where it appeals mostly to people that are really looking for that human touch. That AI will never be able to replicate, no matter what.
One-to-one art becomes artisan art.
Yeah. So it's wild times. It's wild times, and I hope for the sake of all the artists out there that it'll all be okay. But honestly, I'm just hesitant to pick a side on where we'll end up, because I just think 5 years ago I had no idea where AI art would be, and look how quickly we are flying through the iterations and through the improvements in the software. So in 5 years, who knows where we'll be? It's interesting times.
Well, I, for one, welcome our robot overlords.
There you go.
And generative art, like it's a way of helping artists like you generate more pieces of art, and focusing on the process as opposed to necessarily focusing on the one piece of art that you're generating. You can now make sets and have lots of differences in your sets. I'm sure that that's going to evolve huge.
Yes. There's someone always brings up an argument. I never thought of it. Artists, and this is a really niche case, but it's always one that makes me smile a little bit. It just makes me feel a little bit happy. Is when you want to put out a positive spin on AI. People that are unable to physically draw for any way, for any reason, they've lost use of their hands, their limbs, or they've lost a hand, they can't draw anymore. They've lost certain certain neural functions.
Right.
This Midjourney gives them a chance to be creative again. So it's in that sense, it has its uses, and I just hope we'll find the right balance down the line. And it may be a case of, like you said, having artists utilize AI to better their own work. Unfortunately, the real power of AI may make that difficult, to where it's hard to get that balance. But I hope we'll end up okay. I'm sure we'll all be okay. I'll sum it up by saying that. I'm sure we'll all be okay.
NFTs couldn't possibly cause the downfall of civilization.
Yes. We hope.
So, how can our listeners follow you?
I mean, the best way to connect with me is in the Telos channels, any of them. I'm always there. So just hit me up in the DMs or send me a message if you want to chat about AI, art, NFTs, crypto, whatever. I'm always open to it, to chatting. Another way to connect with me is through our Crew Free initiatives. Get involved. Get involved on making actions on the chain that you purport to be a supporter of. Criticizing from the sidelines is fine, but get involved. There's still things you can do while you're angry about the price of Telos not being $4. You can still use our dApps for your swaps, and use our GameFi partners, and use our NFT minting site. So get involved with Crew Free. Follow me at Twitter at Mochi NFT. That's Mochi and an NFT with 2 E's. I'll follow you back if I see you're a Telos supporter in any way. Always open to chat, and always open to feedback and ideas on how we can build the NFT scene, the community scene, and just generally any feedback I can help provide to the TF on the growth of the community and the growth of Telos, because that's ultimately, as I remind people all the time in the community when they're criticizing or critical, we all want the same thing. We all want a healthy, thriving community with $25 Telos, so let's work together and get there.
So what's your favorite Web3 app right now?
Midjourney is the one I've been playing with. If you want to call it a Web3 app, I know it's obviously not on chain, but I've created some amazingly cool Telos stuff that I'm going to send over to the TF and hope that we can have it utilized somewhere in some sort of marketing materials, a bit of an Easter egg. Aside from our partners, I'm a big fan of all of our dexes. While people are angry about the price of Telos, make your Telos work for you. Stick it in liquidity pools. Yeah, I'd say I use our pools. I'm using Midjourney. I use our bridges when I do need to swap a little bit of Telos, either way, in or out. Anything Telos, I try and use. I want to play Expel a little bit more. I keep missing the start of the seasons.
Me too.
Expel are doing fantastic work. Amazing team from Iran doing an amazing job with an amazing ecosystem. They've got their own token. They've got a game which is absolutely thriving on the native chain as well, which is fantastic to see that builders are still using a native chain as well. And that's my goal next time, is to get involved in the Expel season and play along with our community members that are super avid Telos fans. They just happen to be MMO RTS fans and playing Expel as well on the native chains technology, which is amazing to see. So if I could recommend something to anyone that's keeping an eye on Expel, they're big builds, and I think they're bringing a lot of value to Telos. And we need to make sure they're valued and well heard.
We are so lucky when we get guests like you. I really hope that anyone watching this video goes and checks out your work, checks out what you're doing with Crew 3, and checks out Telos in general. We have to say goodbye for now, but I hope you'll come back soon.
Yes, I'd love to come back on any time. Hit me up and we will have another chat. I'd love to hear more about you guys as well. And maybe next time we have a little bit more of a flowing conversation. I can ask some questions about the GoodBlock team that I'm interested to hear about. So thank you very much for having me on.
Cheers to you. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All right, and that brings us to the end of today's episode and the end of season 1 of Around the Block with GoodBlock.
What?
We are going to be taking a break for a couple of weeks and then coming back to you guys soon with a fresh new look and feel. Hint, hint. In the meantime, make sure to subscribe and check us out on our socials for more fun content. We're going to be releasing some highlights while we're on our break from some favorite episodes. So keep your eyes out for season 2 coming soon. Thanks.